Hey everybody, welcome to Geeksvana Live. It is that day again. It's when we're here live to talk about Microdrone 4.0. Now, the purpose of today's show is intended to really refocus the situation surrounding the Microdrone 4.0 crowdfunding campaign, which, despite the fact that it's actually suspended on the very platform it's used to raise the majority of funds, Indiegogo, the campaign owner still insists that they're working on the product and refuses to comply with the contractual obligation to provide refunds. So where are we? What's happening? Tonight is going to be that Microdrone 4.0 reality check so that we can check and see really what's actually happening. So we're going to be joined this evening by two people with different relationships with the campaign and the owner. One is a YouTube channel owner who was actually the first person to bring this to media light, who's Ash from DroningOn. I know you all will know him very well. A few of you have been messaging me to say how much you were looking forward to seeing him on air again. So we're very excited about that, all by itself, separate to the Microdrone thing. And we also have Joey Edwards joining us, who is actually one of the early supporters of the Microdrone 4 campaign, one of the original backers, which of course this campaign's been going since 2019. So it's incredible that we're still talking about it, and we're still talking about it in terms of this drone is allegedly a couple of months away, and that's within the last 24 hours that again they're confirming shipping within the next 3 months. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping very quickly. We always keep the live chat open on these live streams, and we always like to have really everything from the point of view that everybody has a voice and that everybody can speak. That includes yourselves. As you know, we've often had Microdrone and Vernon in the chat in previous live streams. Let's just keep things not particularly personal. We take the swearing filter off slightly because I know this subject can get people rather animated, but no spamming, that type of thing. If it's a specific question you want the panel to consider or answer or talk about, please @Geeksvana so that I can see that. So without further ado, I'll stop gasbagging on and we'll bring the panel in. Hi guys, how are you? Could you just introduce us a little bit to how you found out about the campaign and how you found out about the product? What sort of led you to want to back Microdrone 4 in the first place?
So I basically came across the stall at the photography show, which was I think March 2019. So Vernon was there himself, sort of showing off the Microdrone 3, and then they had their sort of campaign video for Microdrone 4 playing in the background. And it was just through talking to him and just sort of his confidence in the product, and how he told me like the beauty of this is it's not like normal Kickstarters or things like that. It's the beauty of this one is I'd have it in my hands within the next couple of months.
Right.
And unfortunately, I sort of was sold on that.
Okay, yes, indeed. I'm just going to fix one very quick thing. We've actually got an echo, which I can solve by pressing that button there. Apologies, everybody.
Oh,
that was Skype coming back. The good thing about Skype integration is you get lots of warnings now. So I actually got the warning about the same time the chat started telling me. So apologies, everybody there. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because obviously the campaign was very proactive at getting out there and talking to people, and that was one of the things that I noticed. And this isn't something where we're looking at a situation where we have just a failed campaign or a campaign that's struggling or something like that. To me, a lot of the feedback that I've had from the backers is that they feel like they've been misled and frankly lied to, and I think that's really where the anger starts to come into this. Would you agree with that, Ash?
absolutely. Yeah, and the sad thing is really that this isn't new with Microdrone 4. This was exactly the same case with Microdrone 3, and that's unfortunately where I first encountered Vernon in reviewing early versions of that drone. I provided loads of feedback. Lots of them melted. In fact, I had two that just destroyed themselves when I tried to review them. They sent me replacements. They broke down as well with parts of the circuitry just melting and failing. And I put out very honest reviews. And in exactly the same way as he's misleading the backers now, he did the same back then as well. And in fact, he had a gimbal which started as a 2-axis mechanical gimbal. It ended up being a 1-axis mechanical gimbal.
Wow.
And most of the backers didn't even receive it.
Yes.
So it's sad to see history repeating itself. And Vernon's very proud to say that most of the backers from Microdrone 3 backed Microdrone 4. Well, sadly, you tend to find in the crowdfunding arena, there's a lot of people out there with hope and optimism, and they like to see people inventing things, and they just hope that the next one will be better. But the sad reality is that you're throwing your money away with reinvesting in backers in crowdfunders like this, where there's a track record of things just not being very successful.
No, indeed. And when you look at this particular Indiegogo page, you might be excused to thinking this is the 4.0 page, because there's people saying, 4 years and no shipping, it sucks, that waste of time and money. This is actually the Microdrone 3 page. So as you say, this wasn't without warning. And of course, we're talking about a very different project here, because the Microdrone 3 and a lot of companies do this, so there's no issue with this in particular, but you are talking about the type of product that was essentially, it wasn't a fresh build. It's taking a lot of sort of of the mechanics and a lot of the tech that was already there and repackaging it into a Microdrone product, which is fine. So, but obviously with the Microdrone 4, they then stepped up to trying to make a completely new drone, essentially, which seems to me to be where the technical side of things has gone down, because of course we know how much, how many companies we've seen come and go, and companies even the size of Hubson that can't get a new drone right. So it's not particularly surprising that somebody tried to make a new drone, but it is just that it's that misleading nature. It's the fact that there's no honesty, and in terms of with the backers. One of the first things that I noticed very early on was that actually that there was this huge pool of people like Joey, who work in particular industries and have specialisms that actually could have helped. So actually, if like other crowdfunding campaigns, it was more of a community and saying, okay, I've invested in you, now I'm part of that community and I want to work with you. He had some really bright people that he could have sat down and spoken to and talked about the problems and that type of thing. But it was you can of course only have those honest opinions if you're being told the truth in the first place. You can only have those honest discussions if you know all the information, and of course that just isn't happening.
And I think the big problem they also have is that whenever there's a statement made by Vernon, he's just not people have been misled so many times by the guy that they don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth now. There's a certain delusional element there as well, that he believes he is the best drone creator ever. In fact, an update was posted 5 or 6 minutes ago on the crowdfund page, coincidentally.
Really?
And one of the phrases there is, we've been fortunate to have some of the best minds in the drone industry. I mean, that's delusional, quite frankly.
So they've actually posted a new update this evening, have they?
8 minutes ago.
Yeah, as soon as this went live.
You see, that's it. This is one of the things that frustrates me. And I often feel like I don't want to do streams. I don't want to do videos unless I've got some real content to bring people. There's something that we know. We're working all the time behind the scenes with all sorts of contacts as far as trying to find out what's going on with this campaign. But I don't like to. But we do seem to trigger him, frankly.
And isn't it sad? Isn't it sad that instead of just honouring his commitment to the backers that have put their hard-earned money into him, it takes somebody, a YouTuber, to start a live stream to talk about the honesty of the project, to actually get an update after 3 months. That's when the last update was posted before this one.
Absolutely crazy.
What's worrying, though, in this latest update, they're showing design changes. So the tooling is still not finished, despite this guy opening this campaign with the statement that this is ready for manufacturing. It's designed, it's tested, and apparently drone critics have given it rave reviews. Well, how can they have reviewed something that just doesn't exist yet? Also,
one thing that is very frustrating to me, and I know, Joey, you will probably feel the same, is he's talking about being at London Technology Week, which ironically I was supposed to be at, actually. So it's a shame I didn't go and didn't see you there, Vernon. But he's talking about the fact that they demonstrated their latest sample within London Technology Week. Why hasn't he demonstrated that to the backers?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
so
disgusting.
far, we've just seen a cheap budget drone floating up and down a corridor.
Yes.
We've seen some horrific outdoor footage of the drone wobbling around in the sky, including some onboard footage, which was terrible and triggered the BBC into writing their own conclusion. I mean, if this drone is truly capable, why is Vernon terrified to actually show it and what it can do, especially the Neurala features it's supposed to have?
I mean, and that's actually one of the interesting things that I've always found. For someone as a campaign owner, and this is just from a purely it confuses me, frankly, that someone that is so keen to communicate, that will send me, I sent him an email notifying him of this show and giving him right of reply on certain things which he didn't provide, and I then got 30 something email replies to all sorts of different. So someone that's so keen to speak to people and so keen to defend their position, although they're always attacking when they're defending their own position. But anyway, if this drone existed in anything more than just parts at the moment, I honestly feel that he would have shown it just to shut me up, if anything else.
Exactly. I mean, if any of us here were the owners of a campaign like this, we all know how easy it is to publish a YouTube video. You can take a video with your phone and put it onto YouTube within 5 minutes. If I was a campaign owner, I would be giving full transparency and giving a video every single day. Makes me want to start a drone crowdfund campaign and partner with some really genuine best minds in the industry.
Yes, exactly.
To produce something decent, because I honestly think that even if we couldn't produce a decent drone, we would certainly be honest, we'd have integrity, we would be trustworthy, and the communication would be excelling in comparison to the smoke and mirrors that we see in this campaign.
Indeed.
And it's no surprise that there's nobody saying anything good about this apart from these apparent fake accounts.
Yes, well, it's something when your campaign gets to 37,000 comments on a campaign page, and you cannot find positive ones in there, unfortunately, which of course with any campaign, as I say, if a campaign fails, it's a completely different thing. People understand that, okay guys, we tried to do this, we failed, this is where we failed, here's an opening, we're going to open the lid, this is the money we have left, we're going to give the refunds where we can. That kind of response, which is the response I put to him in our original interview, would have had at least some kind of respect there from the backers, but the fact that the way that they've treated the backers has just been utterly disgusting, frankly. One of the there's really two sections I want to talk about next, which is going from production to prototype and the campaign itself being suspended, because of course this campaign on Indiegogo, despite the fact that an update's just been posted a few minutes ago, is actually currently suspended by the very platform. Now, the funds that were withheld by Indiegogo for things like chargebacks and that type of thing, it was only about a 5 or 10% amount. They actually provided refunds to backers because they said, okay, it is the end of the road for this. We haven't seen anything, any kind of demonstration of the product. In actual fact, publicly on the campaign page, they confirmed that they haven't even heard from Vernon for a while, so they are now going to be offering the refunds of the funds that they have. They started at backer 1 and went up like that, so very, very early people got some refunds that way. But we had the same situation where, again, he's being reminded that he has a contractual obligation publicly on a post on his own page by the platform, and he's refusing to do it. First of all, he said it's because it's in production, so we put this group letter together, sent it to Indiegogo, and finally it did get changed from production to prototype, despite the fact that there's lots of memes out there, which I know Joey has seen, of Vernon saying absolutely not, it cannot go from production to prototype, it will not happen. And then I think literally the following day after that statement, it was put into prototype, which again was one of the boundaries that Vernon himself in the live interview with Geeksvana actually stated is one of the reasons he can't give open refunds, because it's in production, and he wasn't allowed to under the Indiegogo terms and conditions. He's so bothered about the terms and conditions at that point because they protect him, but yet once it's back to prototype and even suspended, he forgets his contractual obligation, and just the fact that he keeps putting in the comments to anyone that asks for a refund, please email info@ or support@ Extreme Fliers, and we'll come back to you. And of course, he never does.
And anybody that criticizes the product is a troll. In fact, just so that everybody knows here, on Twitter, Vernon branded every single member, and there's about 450 of them now, disgruntled backers who joined a group to try to get help getting a refund, help to take this guy to court. He branded all 450 of them as trolls, apparently. Yes. So he calls his customers trolls. Now, any other business, any other professional CEO with any kind of ounce of respect for their customers doesn't brand them and label them a troll. when they have a problem with the product. Now, the sad reality here is nobody has the product. Nobody's ever probably going to get this product because it's been 3 years now. And this guy doesn't want to try and help them. He just criticizes and attacks and calls them names. That is the reaction that I would expect from a child.
Yes.
Not from a CEO.
No, indeed, and you look at.
Can I say as well? In the chat now, he's just said, "Please ask Sean to stop censoring us."
Yes, we actually
does he want to come on?
I mean, Vernon, you have the link to join us. You are more than welcome to come on, and we did email you with how to join. We emailed you with allowing you or a representative of Microdrone to come on. It was warned that anything that you put in the chat which is misleading or anything that you put in the chat which is spam would be removed. The Microdrone support account wasn't banned. It was actually removed basically because you are making accusations against people on the panel, and also you're stating that the information being handed out regarding refunds is incorrect. Sadly, sir, it isn't. What we're saying about refunds is 100% correct. You are now contractually obliged to actually provide refunds to all the backers, and to it is something that is in the contract that you have with Indiegogo, let alone the contract that you have with your backers, frankly.
And now he's doing a copy and paste in the chat,
which, as we have promised him, I want the backers to be able to have their say in the chat. And thank you again for so many of you joining us this evening. I really appreciate it. But again, Vernon, you will not allow us to be diverted by spam. And this is what he does. He will email myself and people like Ash and I'm sure others, and he'll start attacking you personally because he wants to move the conversation away from the facts and away from the answers that he doesn't want to give across to, oh, you're not really a journalist, or oh, you're this or you're that, or he's
a bully.
I had a 20 email response thing talking about the fact of whether or not my studio is actually in my mum's basement, and it was bizarre. And in the end of it, I thought, what am I doing? And I just stopped the conversation, frankly, because even if it was in my mum's basement, who cares? It doesn't answer the fact that you are and there is no caveat to this. You are conning people because you are lying. You are lying to people on a daily basis. Somebody asks for a refund on your comments page. You tell them to email. You have no intention of providing that person a refund, and you just say later. And I'm sorry, it's just not good enough, frankly. I mean, I have to say, I think that, which is a whole other rabbit hole to go down, but I do think we need to see more action from Indiegogo. I know they've suspended the account, but they're still allowing him to post updates. They're still allowing them to comment, etc. And,
the problem there is that Indiegogo are a platform that make money by allowing crowdfund campaigns to be hosted and backers to pledge their cash. Indiegogo don't care whether the campaign delivers or not. Indiegogo only care about the fact that they make effectively a commission from every single backer's pledge. So Indiegogo will never take action because sadly they don't want to put themselves out of business. The majority of crowdfund campaigns fail.
Yes.
That's the sad reality.
The other thing I would add to that as well is that, of course, if you imagine how difficult it is for a backer who is taking Vernon to court, which there has been dozens of them, how difficult it is to get answers and to get information and to get things in a timely manner. Could you imagine the trouble that Indiegogo have? I mean, they've even themselves said they don't hear from this guy. So in terms of legal recourse, apart from taking legal action against them, which is against their own, what on earth else could they possibly do, I suppose, is part of that.
I actually think the governments need to step in and regulate crowdfunding because effectively you're giving money away to people who can be an absolute fraudulent scammer.
Yes.
And I said people. I didn't name a name there. But the reality is I could go and create a crowdfund campaign right now and say, I'm going to deliver this to you. And I could make it sound great. I could describe it as a cutting edge product with the greatest minds in the industry. And it's going to change your life and you can retire and just play with this device all day. And I can move away to, somewhere in the middle of nowhere and take all your cash with me. And Indiegogo will just simply say, well, you took a risk in crowdfunding. It's your fault.
That's it. Yes. There needs to be a benchmark, doesn't there, where OK, if a campaign tries and fails, then fair enough. That money was risked. There was a risk to it. They've been honest. They've told you what's happened. But actually, if there is a campaign that is misleading and is is actually ripping people off, there does need to be a benchmark there, frankly. Joey,
sorry,
yeah,
Sean,
go on, please.
Just to say, sorry, the irony here is that Extreme Fliers writes, we highly disagree with Ash. I'm wondering which points of that they disagree with. Probably the location that they disappeared to. Probably.
Yes, and I like the "we" part as well, personally, but there we go. Joey, what is the current status of your backing? Have you managed to gain a refund yet?
Yeah, I got a refund about a year and a half ago now, I want to say. I think it was January last year.
Excellent.
And that was after probably about 8 months of waiting for a court date where he was like buying time, waiting for the court date. But here we are 2 years after that and still nothing. So.
Okay, so yours was one of the dozens of cases that was settled before it actually went to a hearing, is that right?
Yeah, I think it was 2 days before, maybe a day before, he suddenly got in contact with me saying that he found someone to buy my.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now. Yes, yes.
It.
there was a trend for about a week where it wasn't refunds; it was resold perks, essentially, wasn't it? That was put forward as the reason. So yes, I remember that now. Absolutely extraordinary. As someone who has actually backed the campaign and did so genuinely, and obviously got excited about the product, etc., what would you like to see happen now? What do you think are the right steps that Extreme Fliers and Vernon should be taking if they are responsible?
I think I'd. The sort of appeal of a product like that vanished, and here we are 3 years later. The time's more than gone for a product like this, and he's still trying to like put something out there. He could have released what he had at the time and then spent these 3 years on Microdrone 5 or something like that. But I don't get why he's trying to.
Yeah, it is a strange one, isn't it? Because we have seen a product flying, we have seen videos of a product allegedly in existence, but it never seems to just go beyond that point. It's almost as if, I don't know, and I don't know this because obviously, unfortunately, none of us ever get to see inside Vernon's world, as it were. But I don't know whether there was an original set of prototypes that worked, which are then being worked on here or something and just being tweaked, and it's those that we keep seeing with slight changes on them, etc. It's very strange because we seem to get to a point of we're almost about to ship, and it just falls backwards, which unfortunately the fourth or fifth time that happens, you start to think, you know, is it ever going to happen? Frankly, is it ever going to be a real product? Which is
the reality is that even if it was a real product, I mean, based on Microdrone 3, it just won't be good. And it's this product now, Microdrone 4, is so irrelevant already. In fact, it was irrelevant 2 years ago. The camera quality, the flight time, the weight of it, the price of it. I mean, it's an absolute ripoff. You know, when you consider now that you can buy a used original DJI Mini, the original DJI Mini, in a second hand, and it's still a far more capable drone than Microdrone 4 could ever even imagine being.
Absolutely.
So, you know, the reality is, and the sad reality actually is that even if this drone does eventually ship to people, they will not be satisfied with it. There were a few people happy with Microdrone 3, but you'll find that those people have never owned a drone before. For them, Microdrone 3 was cutting edge in the same respect that, you know, a flying potato would be cutting edge if you've never seen a potato before. So, you know, it's just not ever going to be an impressive product, and it's irrelevant already. So, to be honest, I would rather just see Vernon give up and refund the money, whatever's left of it, divide all of that remaining fund between every single backer and just let them have a bit of peace and just give up with this pointless project, because it won't deliver anything viable. And he can then save himself a lot of stress, legal cases, and, you know,
exactly. No, I agree. And
That would be the best
What-
way for
I
this
think
to
as
end.
well, like we funded this to fund the production of this drone as it was, but he spent like the past 3 years on like sort of redesigning it. Is he saying that none of that money went towards this redesigning? That's all his own money, because that's not what anyone submitted this money for. Who's paying these costs to have all these sort
That's
of
right.
redos of the same
Yeah,
design?
that's it. Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's a really
And the
good point.
revision of tooling.
Vote or anything like that.
Yeah, no, indeed. Well, because there is no discussion. There is no discussion of we've got to
No.
this point. We could still build this, or we could give limited refunds back and give the actual and as I've said to him, every step of this, and I've had a lot of conversations with Vernon, an awful lot. I have Skype conversation messages that probably range into the thousands of individual DMs. And I've always said, you just need to go to your audience, go to your backers. They are active in this, and talk to them and see what they want to happen. And instead, we have the existing campaign page with videos being made private regarding stretch goals, including Nurella, who of course are more than happy to distance themselves from the Microdrone 4 campaign, and have emailed several people to confirm that they're not involved in an ongoing situation. So anything that Nurella is there is literally the product they've already delivered. I'm not sure how he's going to get that working with a new style drone, but perhaps that's where the world's cutting edge, the world's best drone experts that he has working for him comes into it. I'm not sure. It's going to be.
Can I just say, Sean, Extreme Flies in the chat says a lot of backers would not be happy with what Ash just said. We're going to deliver an excellent product. Well, do us a favor, Vernon. Find a backer, a genuine backer, and give us their details so that we can chat to them and get them in on the stream. And let's talk to them in person about why they think this product is still exciting and why they even think they might actually get it. Because quite honestly, I'd be shocked if this product ever delivers, and even if it does, it won't fly. It'll probably burn up like the Microdrone 3s that I had did.
Indeed. And
which, by the way, just went straight in the bin.
yes, exactly. Well, I did actually find one on Facebook Marketplace, unboxed, and that is actually on its way to me. So I'm looking forward to doing an unboxing of the Microdrone 3. It should be good fun.
Good luck.
But yes, and that's part of it as well. Even if they actually did now deliver on the product, even if they actually delivered the original product with, crikey, to people who are new at this, who are new to this story, there are issues going back as far as sensors being downgraded without telling anybody, and specification being changed on the website after you can no longer get a refund and that type of thing. There are so many issues going back as far as you can. But even if they delivered that actual drone now with all of those bits and pieces, yes, it would be nice, but it's useless. It's completely irrelevant. I mean, it doesn't have the functionality, it doesn't have the use case that someone like Joey as a backer wanted that product for. Frankly, it's incredible. Johnny Mac 26 is saying have a fire extinguisher ready. Yes, I will, Johnny. I have one. We do actually have one in each of the studios, so I will make sure it's even closer when we unbox it. I'm not sure what a Microdrone 3 in a box for 2 years will do, but there we go.
Vernon writes, Sean and Ash encourage people to send abusive message to partners, tell the truth. Now, partners working in an organization don't care about emails sent to them if the working relationship is good. Firstly, that's an absolute lie, and yet another one from Vernon, saying that Sean and I, have bothered to take the time to send abusive messages to partners. We've never sent abusive messages. We've sent messages of inquiry to companies like Nurella, who fortunately have replied to us to tell us, Vernon, that they intend never to work with you ever again.
Yes. And I would like to say that as well, that actually Nurella have been fantastic in terms of responding to both myself and journalistic inquiries, but they've also been very good at actually responding to individual backers. Individual backers have actually messaged the CEO on direct message and have actually had replies. So, hats off to that company. And I completely separate the two companies 100%, because we're able to do that because they've told us what's going on, frankly. So we're able to actually back it on something real.
Can I ask, Sean, can I suggest that we put Extreme Flyers in timeout? Because if Vernon wants to cowardly hide behind chat and hide behind fake Facebook accounts, as he does in the group, then he can do that. But I think he should be coming on this show and talking and actually being honest with his backers.
Exactly.
not hiding behind fake accounts.
Exactly.
Chat.
And, you know, when
it's not like he hasn't been invited on.
exactly what I was about to say. You know, we do have an open link. Vernon is able to join us on audio, audio and video if he prefers, or a representative. We gave that information more than a week ago as well. So the fact that it's just the spamming in the chat is just incredible. Now, for anyone watching the replay, they will still the comments will still come back in the chat, so you can read what has been saying. But obviously, they're on a timeout at the moment, which I think is a very fitting name for it, frankly, isn't it? To call it a timeout. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was actually look at the most recent comments that have been made, and actually look at the transition that we've experienced from about the point where the account was suspended and really moving through from there. We've started to see something different happen, and rather than it being Vernon actually replying with to these comments, well, allegedly it was, you know, this is all allegedly, of course, we've no idea who respond. It is now, of course, this Lydia person that is now responding to all of the comments, although it's slightly confusing because obviously in one of the interviews, Vernon did confirm that Lydia no longer worked for the company and had moved back to Italy and was doing a little bit of remote customer service for them. So again, as I've said in previous shows, this isn't somebody that sat in their offices in Wimbledon with direct access to the product or anything else like that. This is somebody that lives overseas, basically. So it's strange. But I've unfortunately seen this kind of thing on other failed campaigns where people haven't come forward more, let's say, in my opinion, more openly and honestly about what's going on, where you do see people to start to want to really remove their name from a campaign and the reference to their personal name. And that to me is a concern, basically. I think it's a bit of a concern that it's starting to be a bit of a corporate sort of response rather than Vernon's personal responses that we used to get. But again, even within the last couple of days, in fact, I think the last one was only one day, here basically saying where someone has said, I want my refund, and again referring that person to the support at, and make sure we have everything we need. This way you're not sharing any private information publicly. Nobody who has emailed from this comment section, who has emailed the support at Extreme Fliers, has gained a refund. This is a tactic which is used to basically silence people that are asking for a refund on the page, and to bring them into an email list where he can just ignore them. And I know this because there are several complaints up and down where people have said, I've already emailed the list, I've already emailed that account, and we've heard nothing back, which is crazy. And this little update here from Microdrone one day ago, project owner: hi Julian, we're still working on making sure the core features work perfectly as we imagined them. We are expecting to start shipping out to backers in the next 3 months. Thank you, Lydia.
So when they say as we imagine them, I think that's probably how they're developing them as well in their minds.
Yeah, I mean that's either really, really badly worded, or there is something very, very strange going on in the background there, frankly, because to say that we're still working on the core elements of this product, when of course in 2019 their campaign video stated that we are now production ready, and we just need $75,000 of your money to go to production and make this thing a reality. We have the drone, we're ready.
And this is why Vernon doesn't like the word fraud. But the reality is, if you market something and you say it's ready for production, and I'm quoting from the article here, I believe it was December 2019, wasn't it? Ready for production. And the reality is Vernon is still working on the design and the tooling. That means it's not ready for production. That makes it a scam. That makes it fraud. If you state something that's a blatant lie and you end up with almost $1 million or over $1 million of backing based on that lie, then it's a fraud. It's a scam. He may not like the word, but sadly, well, fortunately, we're much more honest than he is, and we're not afraid to say exactly what this project is.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and that is the problem here is, and it feels frustrating in an industry where, you know, DJI or someone won't bring out quite the right update or something, and there'll be something small, and they will get slaughtered for it. They will get lots of complaints, and they will respond. They'll respond on social media. They'll direct message individual owners, and they will stand to account for what's happened in the main. But unfortunately, we don't have that situation here with the Microdrone 4.0 campaign. And I wouldn't care if this was just a product that was promised and just didn't happen and went away. That's fine. It happens. It happens in the drone industry all the time. But you look at other examples like the 00 Hover 2, which was a crowdfunded drone and was unfortunately ill-fated. And Vernon has put to me, why don't you talk about that campaign? Why don't you talk about the other drone campaigns that have failed? And the reason I have no reason to talk about that campaign is if someone says, I'd like a refund, and then they get a response, your refund has been processed.
Exactly.
You know, and
Exactly.
then and the other joyful thing there, of course, is then that company is only working with the backers that want to be part of the campaign, which I think is probably even healthier for them, frankly.
Yeah. I honestly think that most of the backers would have a higher chance of winning the Squid Games than they would of actually getting a drone out of Vernon.
Do you know? I feel like actually emailing an email conversation with Vernon should be part of the Squid Games. It actually should be one of the challenges, and to see if you just want to, you know, take a long walk off a short pier afterwards. Frankly, because it would.
This is why I needed Carlsberg for this live. I needed beer, because talking about Vernon riles me, because, you know, I've dealt with this guy for many years. And I've dealt with many manufacturers. You know, I built up great relationships with drone manufacturers who would send me their drones to get not just a review on YouTube, but prior to that, to actually give them feedback. So DJI, when they brought out the original Pocket, they sent it to me for feedback, not for a review, but to actually give them feedback on using it. So I've got great relationships with vendors, and Vernon is the only one that unfortunately never listens, never acts on anything. I gave him feedback when he released his carbon racing drone frame, which was an interesting idea, to be fair. But the promotional video for it had footage from a DJI stabilized drone pretending to be a racing drone. And I called him up on it. And I said, this is a scam. You cannot put that out. Take that clip out now. And he did, fortunately. But that just shows, you know, in exactly the same way as when he launched this drone, he launched it with a split screen video showing footage from a £2,000 Inspire 2 and the £100 non-existent Microdrone 4, saying that, you know, look how good this drone is. And the reality is he downscaled the footage from the Inspire 2 to make it look pixelated.
Yes.
He cropped and scanned that footage in. That's just, again, another scam.
Exactly.
That's fraud.
Just very quickly, Joseph, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. I really appreciate it. Really enjoying the channel. It's a shame because a few bad projects could make future entrepreneurs think twice about using the crowdfunding model. And that's where I think Ash's point about the government stepping in, regulators stepping in from the point of view of regulating this better, because if it's used correctly, it's a really effective tool for someone who doesn't have the only thing they lack is the finance. There are so many incredibly clever people out there. And, you know, they have some wonderful product ideas. They work up a prototype. They're ready. They don't want to go on Dragon's Den, or they can't get on Dragon's Den. Then actually crowdfunding should work for them. And unfortunately, it just doesn't. It's absolutely incredible.
There's an irony there that Vernon was on Dragon's Den and they chose not to back him. He rebranded some cheap, crappy product from China. Yeah, well, saying that he could resell them.
And in actual fact, I believe one of the dragons actually knew the person that had the patent for the product that he was trying to sell to them, basically, and that was where it sort of fell apart a little bit, unfortunately, shall we say. And
talking of patents, this is the guy that promotes that he has 2 patents to his name. But if you look up those patents, they were never granted. And they were withdrawn.
Now, we're obviously talking about Vernon a lot, and that's because he is the campaign owner, and he is the man behind Extreme Fliers, etc., and everything else like that. And you might think, if you're watching this stream either live or as a replay, you might think, okay, let's lay off this guy a little bit now, shall we? And, you know, let's not lay it on too thick. Go back through my videos, go back through my channel, go back through Ash's channel. You will not find videos where we go after people. We are not those kind of channels. We're not people that sort of, you know, I don't have lots of gotcha or or witch hunt videos on my channel where I'm, oh, this guy is a con man or anything else like that. the reason that we've picked this story up and the reason that we're following it through to the point where Ash isn't currently active on YouTube but wanted to come on and share in this message is because of how much Vernon has misled people and how many times he's lied to them, and it continues, and it frustrates us because we feel protective over the drone hobby, the community that we produce content for, and it just isn't a good situation for people to be in, frankly.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Andy Cortez, for your £10 super chat. I really appreciate it. Here's my crowdfunding tenner to launch the Geeksvana drone 1.0. Yeah, no, I tell you what, I am as someone that once in my very early days of YouTube, I once messaged Ash to ask him about ISO and shutter speed and frame rate and all that type of thing, because I didn't really understand it all. So as someone that, I'm certainly not the person that will be launching a drone, or perhaps I should, as Ash said earlier. And thank you as well, Pravel, for your check 49 super chat as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. But please do, especially backers, please do keep your money, guys, as you already had to pay out once already. And just a couple of messages from people who are backers. 619 OTA, December 2018 production ready, June 2019 guaranteed delivery. We all remember that email guaranteeing the delivery. June 2022, here we are, nothing, not even a working prototype. And that's the thing. Despite claims of COVID issues, and of course there's just been a huge lockdown in China, affecting with a very big impact on the technology sector, but that doesn't stop you from getting a working prototype. Frankly, it doesn't stop you from having a working prototype by now. To still be using COVID is just a bizarre situation. Lame. Basically. Yeah, lame. Exactly. I didn't hear that. It took a moment for the word lame to process in my brain then. So where do you think, with your experience, Ash, and obviously you've been doing this longer than me, and you've got the website, the droningon.co website, etc., which always used to have excellent articles, and you've had more of an interaction with parts of the industry than I have. Where do you think this ends? How long do you think that we can go on with this sort of piecemeal situation where we're just giving comment updates, email us for a refund, and here's a BS update? Frankly, how long can this continue?
So with Microdrone 3, the big value add that most backers were really excited about was the gimbal, mechanical gimbal. The drone shipped to people. Some people never got it, but those that did get it, it flew for a short time in some respects before the Moffett popped and burnt. He then released this, what he called innovative snap-on magnetic camera. And the problem is, when you snapped that camera onto the bottom of Microdrone 3, the thing was so heavy, it literally flew like a flying potato. If you were in trouble, you didn't have any throttle. It just dive bombed. So then this gimbal, which didn't ship to virtually anybody from what I can see, and if it did ship to them, it was useless. It was geared, and it just had no smooth quality to it at all. It was pointless, and it was one axis. So it literally was pointless. And then the campaign just smoldered away like a barbecue just cooling down overnight, and then it's gone. Yes. And I don't know how this can really conclude other than in the same way. I think at some point he will release a minimum viable product, MVP, to people and hope that they are happy with what they've got. But it won't be anywhere near as it's been described in the campaign. It will just be something to ship out there so that he can formally close the campaign. That's how I believe this will end. And I then hope that Vernon and this company disappear, are never allowed to crowdfund ever again, and never, ever allowed to try and sell anything to the general public. I hope they disappear and we never, ever see any sniff of a Microdrone 5.
Oh, please don't. Oh, that gives me. I can see Joey's eyes starting to blink then when you said Microdrone 5. I don't think any of us would really want to see that coming around the corner.
No.
Thank you very much, Metro Jones, for the $20 super chat. Happy Wednesday, droners. Sean Yo, thank you, sir. It's great to see you, and it's great to see a lot of our regulars in here as well. And the Geeksvana audience have supported the backers by watching these streams and videos, and it's good to see the drone community rally round and support everybody, frankly. I mean, we need to see this situation end soon. And I actually personally, I wonder whether there's actually going to be a situation where we won't see a product, and that's really where I think we may see this sort of bumble along for another good 6 to 9 months at least before something can actually happen. But I see Ash smiling. I think I know why he's smiling.
Well, just in the chat, sorry, I just see there's a photography guy there who said, I received the MD3 camera and gimbal, flying potatoes, putting it nicely. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm being polite when I say
yes,
flying potato. But also Daniel says, ask the BBC for a special investigation story about fraud on crowdfunding. Well, ironically, I pinged Rory Cellan-Jones, who was the biggest technology correspondent on the BBC until he unfortunately retired in the last few months. Brilliant chap, had lots of conversations with him about Xano originally. He covered Xano. And then when I mentioned that there is something similar to Xano, can you take a look? And he entirely on his own, coming to his own conclusions based on everything he could see, also concluded that this campaign is, in fact, what was the name of the article? Sorry, Sean.
Oh, sorry, I was just popping the link to it in the chat, actually. Let me go back up.
That's all right.
Mike,
Losing
yes,
Altitude.
Losing Altitude. Great title.
Which, ironically, is exactly what MD3 did as well. But he also came to the conclusion that the drone is flawed and the video quality is terrible. Vernon will claim that we influenced him. Well, anybody that knows Rory Cellan-Jones will know that you cannot influence a BBC technical, well-respected journalist. This guy is the best in his field.
He is too far up that tree to think that you can realistically, you know, it would be like walking into, you know, a Ferrari dealership and offering a £10 bribe or something. You know, these guys are the elite of what they do. They're at the very top of the tree, and they'd have no reason to, frankly, because he has enough articles, he has enough stories going on. He wouldn't need to be influenced, frankly. Exactly. Yeah, it is crazy. But yes, it's interesting somebody brings up the BBC. That was one of Ash's part of his hard work, because as well as the videos you see on channels, etc., Ash has worked very hard behind the scenes to get the kind of exposure this story needed at that point as well. And frankly, when you think that was the 3rd of March 2020 and it was such a damning report, it's incredible that we're now more than 2 years later sitting here still discussing it and showing it as an example of good journalism, frankly, related to this.
Vernon will ask why Sean and I don't just let this drop. Haven't we got better things to do? Well, yeah, we've got much better things to do. If Vernon actually gave his backers what he promised, we wouldn't have to constantly be trying to hold him to account to get these backers their money back. And on Xano, another scammy campaign, you know, a lot of backers ended up getting a refund. And that's exactly what Sean and I want to achieve here. This drone will be useless. Yeah. If it arrives, I would prefer everybody to be getting a refund. And like I said, a message to Vernon, give up. Divide whatever funds are left behind between every single backer. Even if it's £10, just give them something back. Save yourself a lot of court time and stress and frustration.
Exactly. Follow the contracts that you signed with Indiegogo, and you know, with the insistence that they have put on your own campaign page, basically stating that all backers should now be getting their refunds from you, the campaign owner. So it's time, frankly, it is time.
Yeah,
I think as well, like what you were saying there, Ash, about why do you continue to do this? They wouldn't have got an update tonight if the show wasn't going out.
Exactly.
I think the most amount of information I've seen through Vernon from the past 3 years has been through Sean's channel, just from his interviews with him and sort of I don't know, squeezing the information out of him.
Yeah, it's strange when I published those the 2 interviews that we did with Vernon. I was shocked with the amount of backers that said, actually, thank you, because we've never had that information yet. And these are
they were great interviews. In terms of court, when people take Vernon to court, those interviews are priceless.
Yes.
Evidence.
Yes, I agree with that.
Really good job.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I really do agree with that. And again, Vernon, I'm more than welcome to do a follow-up whenever you or a representative, legal representative, anybody at all wants to come and talk to us. We are here and ready to hear and put out your side of the story, under questioning, of course, which would be very important.
Just to say, somebody in the chat's put brushed motors in 2022. Exactly. Brushed motors, but even more ridiculous. No GPS chip. This thing has no GPS. It uses optical image recognition to try and stabilize it, which DJI drones have. But as an emergency, for when it loses GPS signal, or if you're flying inside, this thing doesn't have a GPS chip. So the reality of that, and I think, when I first read about this campaign, I put out an article saying what this drone will not be able to do. And one of them, people were saying, I can't wait to fly this at night. It won't fly at night. It won't hover. It won't hold its position, because if it's dark, the camera can't see the ground, so it won't hold. It will just drift away.
Yes.
A drone in 2022 without a GPS is literally like an electric car with no wheels.
Agreed, exactly. And I would also just like to state that the accounts, the various accounts that they've been using this evening, as in Vernon and or the microdrone company, they are still active in the chat. They are able to post things. Interestingly, when we have insisted on deleting anything that we know to be completely incorrect, and offer him the opportunity to come on as well, it is now seems like that for the first time ever we're getting silence, which it seems the only way that you can actually silence Vernon is actually hold him to account. So that's perhaps no great surprise there, frankly. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, well, that's basically, we're coming up on the hour. I don't want to go on too long with this particular topic. As I say, we're here to refocus people on the facts that the campaign is still going on 9 months after suspension. They are still within the 24 hours of this stream being live. Within 24 hours of this show, they have stated that the product will be out in 3 months. They have promised people refunds if they send an email to the support email address. It's absolutely crazy that we're still in this situation. And, any of the backers, share this video out there. Let's counter the misinformation and the propaganda that Vernon is putting out, that the campaign is in any other kind of state apart from defunct right now.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Ash. I hope that this might give you the bug and that we might see a few more notifications dropping from Droning On soon. You never know.
You know what? The funny irony is, a couple of years ago, in fact, yeah, two years ago or so, it was seeing this campaign falling apart that brought me back. I had a 6-month break from producing content, and I came back to produce a video about Vernon and people taking him to court. But yeah, you never know. Maybe I'll come back.
Indeed. Well,
for the time being, I'm enjoying flying drones for pleasure. So I hope you guys do too.
That's fantastic.
Thanks for having me on.
No, please. And we do miss you, because it's good to have different voices. I miss you as well, because it's another Brit. I need more British accents in the drone sphere on YouTube, frankly. And
anytime.
and Joey, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I really do appreciate it. It's great to have that sort of backer's voice on the show as well. And all of the backers have always been extremely supportive of the content that we're producing and the messages we're trying to put out. And we'll always be here for you guys, frankly.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And then I suppose thank you for the backers who've got an update now.
Indeed.
Not much of an update, but
yeah. Yes. Yeah, perhaps we'll be back in 3 months when there's been no update for 3 months again. You never know. But in wider news, we are actually working on a funded documentary on Microdrone 4.0. We do actually have a small amount of funding which has been made available to us to make a documentary on this subject. It won't be anything flash, you've seen my videos, but it will have all of the information regarding this. And again, that should be something which we'll hope to complete within the next couple of months. And I hope by the time that we're ready to release that, either the drone will be released or the campaign will be over. I'm not sure which, but there we go. So again, thank you everybody for joining us. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. We've got videos coming out for quite a few videos. Tomorrow we've got one on FPV from our police live stream. The following day I'm going to tell you what I think about audit channels and whether or not they're going to ruin the hobby, and lots of other content coming soon. So keep an eye out for all that. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.